So there's this crazy guy. I mean, we're talking off the reservation crazy.
Here I have a carrot grown next to some uranium being sliced with a fossilized megalodon tooth. Because why not?
And yes, I ate those with my Christmas lunch some time ago on pre-nuclear aged uranium glazed Fiestaware plates. I might have been making a point at the time. Anyway, this crazy guy, oddly enough, has a crazy solution for global warming.
And it goes a little something like this.
You see, global warming is both tiny and massive at the same time. If you work out the extra energy that the Earth is getting from the Sun due to global warming, it's tiny. It's about 1 part in 1,000 extra energy. Ballpark figures, that's like the number of extra people that Waldo is in these Where's Waldo pictures. So of course, it's barely detectable. I mean, obviously, so if you think about it, it took decades of global warming like this for this to become obviously a problem. However, on the flip side, global warming is massive, to the point where there is almost no conceivable way that mankind can fix it. You see, that 1 part in 1,000 extra energy that we're getting from the sun is about 10 times the entire power production of mankind. And even more, if we were to cut off all of our carbon dioxide production tomorrow, including breathing, say for instance, all of the carbon dioxide that's already been dumped into the atmosphere will still be there for decades, till in the first case it's mostly absorbed by the oceans. Now this is obvious really, it took the entirety of mankind burning stuff to make carbon dioxide for the best part of 100 years. This was a team effort that took almost the entire planet to create this problem. Getting the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, even if we did have a planet-wide team effort, would optimistically take decades. And the reality is that burning stuff to give quick, cheap energy, well, the economics has something to say about that. But there is a maybe a ray of hope here, in that it turns out that 1 part in 1,000 extra energy that we get from carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is actually really 2 parts in 1,000 extra heating. But all the stuff that we burn also puts loads of particulates into the atmosphere that cause about 1 part in 1,000 cooling. 2 parts in 1,000 heating, 1 part in 1,000 cooling, overall 1 part in 1,000 extra heating. So if we were to increase the particulates in the atmosphere to give us another 1 part in 1,000 extra cooling, well, it wouldn't solve the problem, but it would give you a band-aid to give people time to get their act together. Now, a lot of people get very squeamish when you start talking like this, because you're talking about geoengineering the planet. Well, yes and no. Technically, we've already geoengineered the planet, albeit unintentionally. Now the question is, can we de-geoengineer it on purpose? Now the key observation here is when sodium explodes in water, like this essentially single drop of sodium being dropped into water, it makes a nice bang and everyone's kind of distracted by that nice big bang, but it's what happens afterwards. You get this cloud of smoke. And this crazy guy kind of noticed that smoke has some rather peculiar properties, in that it's very persistent and it's made out of very small particles. So if you were to add this to, say, jet fuel or something, up into the upper atmosphere where it can stay there for an extended period of time, well, your planes are already up there burning fossil fuel anyway, so, maybe if they can put some particulates up there as well, that might work out okay. After all, you're only after reflecting 1 part in 1,000 of the solar energy back into space. And there's a lot of side benefits to doing this, which I won't go into at the moment. On the flip side, there are a gazillion technological hurdles to cross to actually make this functional. Again, kind of obvious in that if it was simple or easy, someone would have done it already. So, of the gazillions of technological things that we've got to get to work here, step 1 is just getting sodium to burn. What are the flame characteristics of burning sodium? Effectively, we need to make a sodium flamethrower. Now, sodium's a pretty reasonable solid at room temperature.
So this is what our sodium looks like. And there you'll see lots of big lumps of sodium. There's about half a kilo in there. So you're fairly heroic. You can sort of skewer the stuff and pull it out. That's not too bad. There we go. So that's like, you know, candy-sized lump of sodium, which would completely freak a load of people out. As long as you keep it dry, it's not too bad. As long as it doesn't catch fire, not too bad. It's fairly soft stuff. You can, with strong fingers, get something fairly sharp. You should just be able to scrape some of the oxide off, and underneath you'll see it's a nice clean metal surface. Yeah, nice clean metal.
Yeah, that's actually not a very promising start for a fuel. That most good fuels, you need them to be fairly volatile, such that at some point they're going to turn into a gas, mix with other gases, and then it's that rapid reaction that's going to generate you lots of heat that will run your engines. Now, melting sodium is actually quite easy. It melts at about 100 degrees Celsius, about the temperature of boiling water. But that's still a bit of a pain in the ass to deal with, so I'm going to make my life a lot easier here and work with sodium-potassium alloy. So if you get sodium, which is a solid, and potassium, which is a solid, and mix them together for reasons, you get a liquid.
And you sort of suck it up, and you should get something that looks really quite amazing. You get something that's looks like mercury. It's not, of course, it's sodium potassium alloy, and you get some drops out of this. They'll come out beautiful and clean to begin with, and almost immediately oxidize. So beautiful clean droplets, and they oxidize very quickly, like that. Okay, so let's just put a couple of drops down there. Now we've got the focus in the right place. You see the sodium potassium alloy at the bottom there. This is, you know, it's guaranteed fire when this stuff contacts with water, guaranteed.
Now sure, that stuff can get pretty boomy with water. In fact, I've got a whole video on the reasons why alkali metals explode in water, which also made it into nature chemistry. But the amount of energy released is exactly the same whether it explodes or whether it burns. And just to give you an idea of what that looks like, this is what sodium potassium alloy looks like when it's burned in a stream of water vapor, of steam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, lock on that one. Here we go. There he is.
Now it's shiny.
And there's nothing left.
Yeah,
There's nothing left. It's all gone.
yeah.
But I want to actually have something that's not just burning a drop of sodium potassium alloy here. I want something more like a fuel tank, which I can burn fuel from. So I can work out what the flame characteristics of this stuff are. Now, curiously, there aren't many textbooks on how to make a sodium flamethrower. I mean, clearly you've got to make lots of little particles of sodium at some point. So initially you need to make a spray of some sort, you know, a sort of carburetor for sodium. So my first step was, well, what makes a good spray? And you come to things like pressure washers and things for watering plants.
So maybe the first standard you've got is just the humble pressure washer. Who will give you a decent spray. And of course comes with interchangeable heads. Or just your typical plant waterer, which will also give you an adjustable nebulization.
Nice, cheap, available, blah, blah, blah. And this is just to show you how even people with PhDs and decades of research experience aren't immune from making dumbass mistakes from not having done the back of the envelope calculations first. You see, after I'd ordered all of this stuff, I then do the energy density calculations. So in terms of energy density, sodium's significantly lower than gasoline. But then you do the important back of an envelope calculation, like how much gas does your car actually burn? Well, if it does, say, 30 miles per gallon, that's like 13 kilometers per litre, or about 13 meters for 1 milliliter of gas.
Just so we're clear, that's what 1 milliliter of water looks like, and this is what our pressure washer looks like.
And at that point, it becomes very clear that the sort of nebulizer that you want is the sort of thing that will nebulize a milliliter over a minute or so, rather than the sort of thing that you would use for cleaning your driveway or watering plants. You see, if you were to run gasoline through these things, that's really not the energy output you need for engines, but weapons of war. Yes, I know I joked about a sodium flamethrower because conceptually that's what you need to build here, but no sane man. Well, actually, that's not quite fair. No sane man would work on this at all. But no sane man who wanted to continue living would try to work out the burn characteristics of nebulized sodium on a full-sized flamethrower. And seeing as I want to choose life in this case, I want something that will burn a few milliliters. And so at this point, you shift back your nebulization efforts from things like watering plants and cleaning driveways to something a little more cute and petite, like the humble airbrush, and maybe shift the working conditions to something a little more sensible, like inside the fume cupboards of a chemistry institute. Now, for those who don't know, I have a second channel called The Voice of Thunder, where I upload opinions and random stuff, which if you like this channel, you might like that one as well. And also over there, I occasionally stream interesting stuff, like this, the first ever attempt to make a sodium flamethrower.
This is Science Life, so this will either be a great success or a cataclysmic failure, and I'm not entirely sure which. So what we've got here is an airbrush. This is the thing I'm going to modify to burn sodium. Hopefully I'm going to do it live here on camera. Right, so in the first instance we're just burning some pentane. Now the nice thing about these little airbrushes, of course, is they're very limited in the actual scope of what can actually go wrong, because only a few mils of fuel in there. But the combustion rate that you get on these is about what you would get in a car, turns out. So, well, car when it's idling, maybe. So there's just a few mils of pentane in there now. And so, if we light this one up, we get a fairly decent flame. We do get some control over how much gas we put in. I can jack the pressure up even higher than that, but this doesn't look too bad. So that's burning about a mil, probably a minute. And it's actually putting out quite a lot of heat there. And it's just about to run out, and it runs out. Super. Okay, so just a few mils of pentane, just to give you an idea of what can go wrong. You know, if it catches fire, it's going to burn and go out in a few seconds. Next up, we're going to try toluene, which is very aromatic heavy, and so these things tend to burn with a much sootier flame. Okay, let's smart. There you go. As you can see, so I'm actually surprised that's burning. And it doesn't look like there's any soot coming out, which is impressive, and we're out. Good. Okay. Now, sodium potassium alloy is completely evil. You probably won't be able to see a lot there, but it's under oil at the moment, which is a good way to keep the stuff. This is probably one of the craziest things I've ever done, and I've done some crazy stuff in my time. So let's try and keep the flammable stuff off on one side. Sod it, let's just go for it. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Looks beautiful in there. Right, okay. This is it. There'll probably be nothing to start with, let's see. And there's nothing. It's not going through at all, it's blocked the nozzle. So, the needle, there is no sign that anything has come out here. So the way these things work is there is a needle valve on the end here, which basically stuff runs down to the end of the needle and it's nebulized. It's not even trying to go down to the end of the needle, so it might just be the surface tension that's holding it in here. Which, this might work. Okay, so I've got a lid on there. Now all I've got to do is apply a little bit of pressure to the top here. Try it. Oh yeah. Oh, there you go. It works. And so that fire there you go. That's it. And you see the white smoke. That's what I'm after. sodium flamethrower. And how's it burn? There are some little flecks of sodium here, which might burn. That's not bad. I'll buy that for $1.
Now that, for a first attempt, is actually pretty good. But sometime before this, I'd actually had a hangout with some of my patrons, and one of them, named Spyfox, had ordered some super cheap ultrasonic nebulizers from China, and he suggested that I should try these for nebulizing the sodium, which is a pretty crazy idea, but hey, they were cheap, so I ordered some, and yeah, decided to give it a go.
Good, so that's what these things look like close up. So they've sort of got a mesh on one side and a hole of some sort on the other, which I can't even see. There'll be a mesh on that side as well, actually. So you dip them in when there's no water, they don't do a lot. You turn them on and you dip them in, and they're really quite effective. Sort of spraying out water.
So the question, can you actually nebulize sodium-potassium alloy using ultrasound?
So this will just be one destructive test for today, I think, and it's going to be putting sodium potassium alloy in there and sparking it up. It's likely to be either a good success or an instant failure. Now, we might start off with failure and work slowly towards success. Depends how badly it goes. And we're only going to be doing a drop, so there's a limit to just how much can go wrong. Always got to be a bit careful with these things in the lab. One drop of sodium potassium alloy has got about the same energy as a drop of gasoline. Which is still plenty enough to burn you quite nicely if you're not paying attention. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do first. I'm just going to get a drop of oil and see what oil does when he goes on there, because this might be a good way to start it off. So there, we've just got a drop of oil on. See what that does for us. And it mists the oil quite well. Okay, this is good, this is good. So I'm going to put some oil on there first, and then I'm going to put the sodium potassium alloy inside the oil. So this is super fiddly to do, and you definitely want to keep your face away from this stuff. Right, okay, let's do it. Now pull the fume cover down a bit, keep my face out of the way, and boom. So the droplet is just fizzing around on the top at the moment. Oh, wow! Fuck yeah! Oh! Okay, that is definitely a win. That is a super definite win. And it's only mildly charred on the top here. Let's see if I can bring it up there. It is a little charred, but not greatly. I'm tempted. Yeah, let's be a hero. Let's be heroic and try that again. This is pushing my luck, I know, but okay, we go drop on there. Another little drop. Let's do it. Pulling the sash down, keep my face clean. Oh, burning on the top. Oh, it gives smoke rings. That's awesome. Okay, we have a winner. And I owe one of my patrons a very big beer. A very big beer.
Which brings us on to Scientist Does Really Stupid Things Part 2. And for fun, see if you can spot the exact moment that I do something that's kind of dumb. And just to give you a quick explanation of how these things work, you've got two plates of metal with some very small holes in them that when the plates are vibrating, they suck in the liquid and pump it out through the little holes, and that's what gives you your mist. Now, my initial test seemed fairly successful, but of course this was just a single drop. What I really need to make this work well is to actually feed a liquid to it from underneath, such that I get a spray like this coming out and presumably a flame like that coming out as well. So I need to feed the sodium potassium alloy to this thing from underneath.
That's kind of tricky because sodium potassium alloy is completely evil. So also when it burns, it gets very hot. So there's a chance that you might melt this disc. So what I need is liquid in contact with the back, but ideally I want the volumes to be small. So I made that. That's actually fairly flat on the top there. I'm going to glue that onto there. Oops. And glue that onto there. And yeah, then we'll test it with water. And if it looks okay with water, we will try it with neck tomorrow. A nice ring of epoxy on the inside there. So, leave that to harden up. Okay, dry run time, which of course is ironically going to be done wet. So, when I did this with sodium potassium alloy, I want the quantities to be small so I don't kill myself. So I'm going to do it with about a milliliter, hopefully. Right, so this is the goal is if you can do it with less than a mil, there's a limit to what can go wrong. So we turn on our power. We have power on. And there we go. There he is. Sweet. That's awesome. Yeah, zoom out. So that runs very happily on tiny amounts of water. Good, and I get great control over this. Yeah, this is a winner. An absolute winner.
Spoiler alert, it's a cataclysmic failure. And gold stars to everyone who's spotted why already.
That's it going up, yeah. There we go. There's the sodium potassium alloy on its way up. And now we see what happens. Filling up the bowl. Oh. Feels blocked. It's pushing back. How can that be? Oh, there we go. It's pushing out of the it's blocked. Okay. This is tricky. This is very tricky. Right, this is strongly not recommended for the kids at home. I'm going to put some isopropanol in there. Isopropanol reacts with neck, and in a confined space might do some interesting stuff. Signs of life. There we go, signs of life. Is that enough to... There we go. Okay, partial success. That's mostly the IPA burning there. Oh! Now I destroyed it. I think I might have done. Let's try and get some decent footage of... Oh, yeah! No, he's definitely burned. He's, yeah, the electronics is all fried there. Oh, he just short-circuited it somehow. Okay.
And the reason for this is really not that cryptic when you take a look at the not-so-complicated wiring diagram here, where one of the metal plates is connected to one of the wires and the other metal plate to the other one, and of course, sodium-potassium alloy is a metal. So what probably happens here is when it's vibrating quickly, you're not getting a good contact between the two plates. But if you manage to get a drop of sodium-potassium alloy wedged between the two plates, as my expertly designed piece of kit basically ensures will happen.
Oh, yeah. No, he's definitely burned. He's, yeah, the electronics is all fried there.
But I still had a load more of these things and a few of them in the lab, so I thought, hey, sure, I'm going to destroy them. But whatever, let's see what these things can do.
There we go. Oh, wow.
And I got to be honest, what these little nebulizers will do to sodium potassium alloy, and how effectively it burns is actually quite impressive.
That burned it. I think it has. Let's give it a little spot of IPA, see what that does for us. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. That's not bad. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty effective at mixing the oxygen in there.
Well, that was fun, with twitches of both success and failure. I mean, the ultrasound looks like it's an awesome way forward for nebulizing the sodium, but, you know, when it's used in this configuration, it kind of frays the electronics. Whereas the airbrush, of course, well, that kind of works for making particles, but they're a bit on the big side. If only there were a way to combine these two, maybe by strapping a decent-sized ultrasonic generator to the needle valve of the airbrush and bringing these things together in some sort of unholy union of scientific awesomeness. Then all you can do is convert that into a form that can harvest the energy of the burning sodium in some sort of engine. And then maybe get some NASA collaborators or something to strap it to some test planes and maybe prove that the aerosols have good properties either as a hybrid fuel or as an additive. And boom, you've got a throttle on global warming. Yeah, this might take a little while, but this was an interesting start. And that's today's video. If you enjoyed it, drop a thumbs up on it. If you really like what I do on this channel, you can always support it through Patreon. And as ever, thanks for watching.